What? Don't pay attention to my shit. Let me pay attention to my shit. You don't touch my shit. You may own the channel now, but don't
pay attention to me instead.
No.
Because if I have the kind of crippling debuffs that I do, and I'm still able to make something of myself, then anyone can. I wish I was just fucking normal.
Do not encourage them to have brain damage.
Welcome on in, everyone. Welcome in. Welcome back to Bardic Inspiration. It's a pleasure to have all you guys. Unfortunately, we do have a last-minute cancellation here today. Makari was unable to attend. Until then, I have found...
You have me!
I have...
Yeah. Yes, Makari inadvertently got called away on a business trip, and unfortunately that dozy bitch got locked in a closet somewhere from some inadvertent plank of wood put in the way. I don't know who could possibly put that there.
Possibly. Today, we have Bardic Inspiration with a lovely representative from the Makari Mansion.
You mean the only representative that matters from the Makari Mansion, right?
The only representative. Of course, my apologies.
Exactly.
You were the one I primarily got to know. I adore every member of the Makari Mansion. You just happen to be my favorite. You don't have to worry about it.
Is there any specific reason? You know, my bubbly personality? My undying love for every single person that dares gaze upon me to make sure they know that I'm the only one around that they'll ever have to care for?
You promised to give me a free studio when I moved in.
Yeah, you know, we need to talk after the interview about that.
Oh yeah, sure. I adore you. I hope you know that. I hope you know that you are an inspiration to many people and that you are an upstanding member of the community, and we appreciate the hard work and dedication you give to your friends and to your community. Shh.
Sam, if you wanted me to raid you that bad, you could have just gifted 5 subs.
Look, Twitch has paid to win enough already. I don't need more of that. I'll make that jab.
I'm a jaded, cynical bastard.
Same!
Whoa, look at that! What a caveat! I'm jaded because I've been around for so long! Yo, do you want to hear about my history?
Yeah, let's hear about your history. Going to your main YouTube channel, it says you joined in July 3rd, 2006. Is that accurate? I'll take that as a yes.
I hate it. I hate it.
Yeah.
See, the wild thing is, I made my YouTube channel back when my main YouTube channel, sorry, I made it back when I was in secondary school, or high school for you uncultured Americans out there. And it was specifically in response to the, what was it? I think it must have been World of Warcraft at the time. Funnily enough, it always comes back to that.
Always.
Yeah, like this is back when YouTube was a very simple place and not really much was happening on it beyond the occasional, God, I'm trying to think back to how things were back then. But specifically I made it because I was playing World of Warcraft and I saw some of these like really goofy ass machinimas from back then, like the Illegal Danish or Oxhorn brand medleys or whatever. And I thought, you know, in my infantile mind of being 13, 14 years old, I was like, damn, that looks easy. I'll do that. So me and my sister would get together and we'd like record using fucking fraps.
Fraps.
The equivalent of unregistered hypercam, and we'd like battle back the scourge, if you will, with our characters. And we'd recruit random people who were going by saying, hey, you want to be in a video? And they were like, oh, wow, yeah. We had like 8 of us, and we were all lined up in a regiment, charging into the ruins of Anderhol, I think it was called. And, you know, the idea was that we were supposed to get footage that looked epic and sick, but we kept fucking dying because none of us were high enough level to goddamn do it. So all it ended up looking like was an absolute travesty until this one random level 60 came along in full tier 3 and started one-shotting everything for us so we could get footage that looked half decent. And you know what? It looked great. And then we slapped some fucking Breaking Benjamin on it, and I put it up. That was my first YouTube video. And you want to know what? Back then, it had 10,000 views within the first 6 months, and that, by inflation standards, is probably in the region of 10 million views now.
And now here you are, so many years later, being known for Warframe, being known for... Don't vomit just yet. We haven't gotten to...
I said that word.
Warframe.
Yeah.
Being known for VTubing, being known for being the mascot for the makeup brand Makari. And
you know those bastards blocked me because I took the name Makari.
You've had the name Makari. That's the
Right?
funny
I've
part.
I've had the name Makari longer than that business has been alive, and they blocked me because apparently I took their name.
I think it's a missed opportunity to not come to you for like marketing deals, by the way. I think that's
Right,
entirely a missed opportunity.
There is a potential collab to be had here. If they wanted to put their best foot forward, they would come to me and say, "Hey, yeah, we know you stole our name, everything, you little." And rather than like being an egregiously aggro company, why don't we do a collab? We're opening a content creation aspect of our company. Why don't you be the front of it, seeing as your name is actually Makari?
Imagine you have been making content. Like initially, it was like He Who Fun with your sibling, as you mentioned, but to go on for 15 years takes stamina. I don't know anyone else. We have VTubers who like retire within 3 to 6 months of debuting, and you've been here. You've been here for like 9 generations.
I feel as though it's a twofold thing. I think one fold of it, and the most obvious one, is I don't want to go back to working a 9-to-5 job working for someone else. I was going to the military at one point. I've worked in retail. I've worked for other people. I have a problem with authority. I don't like listening to other people. I don't like doing what other people tell me to unless it's like beneficial to my existence. I want to be responsible for my own bullshit, and if I fuck up, that means it's my fault for fucking up, and it makes me accountable for my own mistakes rather than thinking, oh, this person should have done better for me. So, but you know, I see a lot of VTubers who kind of say that sentiment of when they, or content creators in general, they have that, like, the first thing they realize is that once they get into that freedom of being content creator, they are free. They don't have to worry about some shitty manager or some terrible boss who doesn't know what the hell they're doing, telling them to do things that they know is stupid, know is unoptimal, but they'll have to do it anyway for risk of their paycheck. And that's kind of one of the things that kind of, you know, you meme about it, no, I don't want to work a real job, but I don't want to have to work for someone else who doesn't know what the fuck they're doing. At the end of the day, like, content creation is what you make of it, and it's not for everyone. Like, some people do prefer having that oversight and just being a little sheep and doing as they're told, which is fair. No sly against that. But for neurodiverse people especially, I feel as though being able to work for yourself and being your own boss is the better way of managing yourself. Just because, you know, dealing with people as a neurodiverse person can be very hard sometimes. The other caveat to what has kind of kept me going is that I love challenging myself. I love having expressivity with what I do. And whenever I feel something's getting stagnant or stale, I have the opportunity to just change it. Yeah. And content creation's kind of been that way for me. Like, but back before I started on, even before I started on Twitch, I was doing full-time content creation, or at least part-time content creation, as far back as when I was 18, 19. And when it all started with my artwork, the same concept from then still applies to me now. If it's boring, if it's something that I don't find that will activate my neurons, I just won't do it. I want to be able to do stuff that makes me feel like what I'm doing is allowing me to become a better person or pushing my boundaries so that I'm learning something and growing from what I'm doing. So when it was like my artwork, if I felt like, if I was sick and tired of the 79th furry commissioner asking me to draw a triple dick nippled centaur, then I wouldn't take triple dick nippled centaur commissions anymore.
No more.
You notice that the content creators that graduate within like 6 months of becoming a VTuber usually end up being that way because they have no idea of what they really want to do. They just wanted to, they saw the VTubing as a concept or content creation as a concept, and they thought to themselves, that'll be a nice novelty. COVID lockdown to thank for that. Like, yeah, that saw so many people jumping onto the internet as their means of escape from, you know, captivity and everything.
Social reach and all that.
Yeah, exactly. And now that lockdown's no longer a thing and COVID's basically slipped into austerity, people have suddenly realized, this whole thing ain't really for me. It's not really what I'm up for.
I kind of miss going and talking to people that don't talk to me weirdly and slide into my DMs with ostensible pictures that I didn't want to see.
It's the disparity between authentic creativity and wanting to make something versus wanting to have something given to you. Like having an expectation of receiving something for what you do. The most authentic and the most organic content creators are the ones who do it for the sake of actually pushing expressivity and making something with what they do. I think the most egregious example I had of this was somebody who I used to work with. They quit their managerial section in the job They were on a decent wage. They were earning consistently, and rather than trying to ease into it, they quit their job on the day, had their 2 weeks notice, and they tried to become a full-time content creator. Literally 2 weeks later, they were back groveling to try and get their job back.
Yeah.
And if you like, you can absolutely do that, but you need like 2 years worth of savings to be able to support yourself. But I was finally starting to socialize. I was finally starting to meet more people, and I was absorbing everyone else around me to try and see where I landed. And when I first started VTubing, I saw how goon bait most VTubers were, and I went down a very degenerate path. My intro to VTubing was, hey, let's make everything sex, because that's what everyone else is doing.
Yep.
And I went so far down the rabbit hole, and I was glad I did, because like I said earlier, you make your mistakes to realize what you don't want to do. I realized that wasn't for me. I cannot make my entire selling point sex. Back when I back when the furry thing was much a embracement. Yeah, so really, and joke about it all you will, I'm where I am now because of furries.
Yeah, that sounds about right for a lot of creatives on the internet.
Because if we take it back to the very start of what got me going, it was when I started doing my artwork and really started taking it seriously, which meant I started getting money from my commissioners, which inadvertently started being mostly furries. And then that led me to start a Patreon because I wanted more consistent income, and I started taking more professionally. The more professionally I took it, the more my audience grew. The more my audience grew, the more I started doing more stuff to professionalize myself to make more money. And as I did that, my Patreon community said, "Hey, do you want to start? Hey, if we're gonna do like community gaming nights, why don't you stream it so that those who can't play the game can at least watch it?" And so I did, and that's why I made my Twitch channel. Everyone who was watching me back then was just people from my Patreon community, and it doesn't sound like much, but my average viewership back then was like 10 to 15, maybe 20 to push. But
yeah,
as a content creator, that's huge. When you first start, breaking out of the 10 digit, into double digits is the hardest thing you can do. And I had that luck. I say that luck. I mean, I still worked for that audience, but the fact that I was able to get into the double digits right off the bat is what helped push me into the limelight more. Back when I first started streaming, initially Warframe wasn't really a thing for me. I'd streamed it once or twice, but it wasn't really anything that had like kicked off for me. I was streaming my professional StarCraft time, because at the time I was semi-professional at StarCraft 2.
I did not know that.
I was a semi-professional StarCraft 2 player. Back before I started streaming, I was a mid sort of high-tier Master League player. I'd made some money from it. I did some shoutcasting for it. There was a point specifically where I still remember to this day that I have this distinctive image in my head, because this is back then, we didn't really have much in terms of like assets for like alerts and everything. Things like OBS had only just come out, and having like my first streaming software, you had to use the most convoluted chroma key asset flip to get any kind of alerts on your screen. You had to use like a bunch of different websites. I think it was like called streamalerts.net or something. And it was this completely secondary website that would track your follows for you and give you like some very basic bitch kind of custom alerts of some kind. And I
take
didn't
everything
remember
for granted nowadays.
Yeah, like when I jumped into Warframe for that, like I'd gained a few random follows here or there, but my very first stream doing Warframe, I gained 15 followers in that 1 3-hour stream. And that was my first taste of organic growth from a directory that was actually populated. And I was like, damn, these are people that I don't know. These are people that don't know. You know that meme of that person stood in the corner of a party, and it's like, these people don't know that, like, yeah, these people don't know that I'm a fucking smutty porn artist. At this period in time, I didn't have a single game that I was focusing on. I was streaming just because I wanted to have games with my community, for my Patreon community. And then this is about the time I started university, and at the time I had managed to make enough of a living off of my artwork to a point where I didn't need to get a part-time job whilst I was in university, just because of my artwork. I realize now that my university course was an entire waste of time. I mean, that's another argument in of itself, but I kind of regret going to university. I liked the life experiences I got from it, but the course itself was like whatever. Because by the time I got to my second year of university, I'd kind of started making my art my full-time thing anyway. And really, Napkin can probably attest to this. The course was kind of
Just
shit.
a shit class in general. Actually awful.
It's like most artistic courses at university. They just give you projects and expect you to teach yourself.
Yeah.
Which is shit, because then you're paying 36 grand for 3 years
to be told
use
to work.
computers.
Yeah.
Yeah, to use computers, and I could have done that at home with YouTube. So by the time I was in my 3rd year, I finished the course because I'd been there, and I thought, I might as well get the degree. I've been here this entire time, and I might as well finish it up. But by that point, I was doing my art full time, and in my 3rd year, I'd started streaming Warframe regularly, because I'd realized it was like one of the best games to play, because it was free, meaning everyone could play it. And at the time, it was very fucking simple. Modern Warframe. Around that time, I started focusing on 2 games, Smite and Warframe. And I think that was like one of the things that actually prevented me from burning out. Being a one-game Andy is great. But and this is to any aspiring content creators out there. Being a one-game Andy is great because it means you get to work to a specific audience. And if that game has an active audience, you will get viewership for it. But it is a double-edged sword. If you only do that one game, your success is tied to that game. It's why even all the way back then, in my ignorant state, I knew that I needed an out. If I ever wanted to get out of Warframe, I would need to have another game to show people that I was capable of being entertaining even without Warframe.
And it's a hard thing to do. Like, it's hard to put yourself out there and have people be like, yay or nay.
Warframe was such a wild experience because it was the first time I'd actually had engagement with an audience outside of my art community. And the amount of stuff that happened that kind of encouraged me to be a better content creator with that was wild. I never had any like lessons or whatever. Everything I learned through content creation was always self-taught. And through talking to my community, through streaming Warframe, I started realizing the do's and don'ts. I actually, as a fun story, I actually got into a lot of trouble with the Warframe community at one point. Because, sometimes you have to learn by making mistakes. And I made a horrendous mistake one time of seeing a streamer who was very successful and was relatively new to the directory. And I was jealous that they were above me in viewership and that they were such a noob. So I went into their stream and said, hey, if you ever need help, come to my stream.
Yeah? How'd that go? How'd that go for you?
That did not go over well.
Did you make a friend?
I did not. I did not. That was my learning experience, and I never made that mistake again. So I suppose to kind of finish this story, so that was like my introduction to VTubing. I realized that was kind of the time that I started becoming more myself. And then recently, I realized I'd given myself a new foundation. I'd managed to carve out a hole for myself. Because when I stopped doing Warframe, I lost viewership, I lost friends. I went through that whole story of, accepting the loss, moving on, dealing with the trauma, dealing with the pain of loss and everything. And it took some time. And I needed that time to ground myself. And once I got grounded, once I'd realized where it was I wanted to be, once I found my place in VTubing and content creation, I was able to start getting all these ideas bustling in my head. I started coming up with expanding the ideas of the mansion, coming up with these the rules of the mansion, coming up with the bases of the story that I wanted to start telling. And when I made Inky specifically, it was her creation that spurred my decision that this is what I wanted to do. It was this character being made that was the official point of, this is the Makari mansion, this is the story I'm going to be telling, and it's where all of my current ideas now have started propagating from. The skits that I started making with the Makari verse comic, which is like a prequel kind of thing, that kind of sets the rules and the expectations and what's capable and not capable in this universe. That's setting the precedent for what's coming in the future. And I suppose that kind of leaves me where I am now, because for the future, I have some projects. I showed Mard before we went live today. I have a huge character in the works that's going to be the foundation of it.
Y'all aren't ready. They're not ready for it. Kari, are you sure you should finish that project, by the way? I don't think they're ready for it.
Trust me. I don't want to like toot my own horn. The people so it's not just a model. The model is much like how Inky was the start of the Makari verse comic. This character, who shall remain nameless for the time being, This new character is the start of the Makari Mansion, which is the official story of the mansion beginning in earnest. This is the character that will sort of push the narrative along. It's the character that's going to be, and that's the funny thing, right? Makari might be me, but Makari is not the main story. Makari is not the main character of the story. It is going to be told from the eyes of somebody else that's more relevant as the audience, as a perspective of my ambition. So you're looking at things from your own perspective as my passion, as it were. So I've kind of anthropomorphized my ambition into this character that tells the story. Not only a comic that's in the works, the model itself, and I don't want to toot my own horn, this model might be one of the most ambitiously creative models that's ever been made. It is being made by a studio that is specifically, they basically only take on commissions as experimental stuff. They never say no to a concept. The entire idea of what they do is that if you have an idea that's too complicated, they'll just say, how do we get that to work?
How would we do that?
So this model's been in development for roughly 8 months now, and it's getting there. It's getting there. But it's so conceptually complicated. They're having to model certain parts of this 2D character in 3D so they can understand how it's going to function in 2D, which is usually the opposite way round. Usually you do it in 2D so you can understand how the 3D works. And it's actually going to be, it's kind of wild in the sense that they're actually involving 3D elements into the 2D model to a stage where it's essentially going to be 2.5D as a 2D model. But finally as well, on top of the comic that's in the works, on top of the immensely elaborate model, there is also an actual anime studio making a fully fledged anime music video as sort of like an intro to this whole story. It's going to have a custom song to it. It's going to have a fully fledged bespoke custom song. But the animation is going to be a intro, as such, to me, the mansion, the story, and this whole concept is my sort of magnum opus of creativity, of who I am now, where I am now, and transitioning me as one of the characters myself into the storyteller. And again, I relate myself to Makari still. Like, she is very much me as a person, but it's gone from Makari just being me to each of the like core members of the mansion being representations of different elements of my personality. Inky is very much my fun-loving, party-going, extroverted self. Makari is my rationality, my passion, my focus. Nakari is an expression of Nakari is like the male version of my succubus. Nakari is sort of an expression of my sexuality, my I want to say energy, my more perverse side of myself. I don't want to use the word perverse because it's like we all have sexuality, but we have I'd say desire. He's an element of my desire. You'll notice if you're ever in one of my streams, none of my Karis have the same personality. Like,
no, they don't.
I want to eventually have it so that I can do voice acting, so that each of my Karis has a notably different voice. Like today, for example, you'll notice that the way that I pilot Inky is very different to the way that I pilot Mariko or Makari, for example. You're talking to somebody who masked most of their life. If I was going to get schizophrenia, I would have done it a long time ago.
It would have been.
My entire life has been training for this moment to embody these different personalities. I'm also very open-eared as well. I might not be the most eloquent or socially adept kind of person, but I know what I see socially, and I'm very good at perceiving the trends within social interactions. So I told them that I have a pretty good understanding about the general aptitude and, I suppose, empathetical relations of the community towards Twitch. And they were like, oh, so if you know that, then would you like to talk to our CEO about that and let him sort of get the general vibe? Like, it says to me that they actually care. They want to know, but they don't want to just like pick every single person.
It needs to be filtered through like voices and opinions that know how to talk about it and not just scream angrily in the distance And this comes shortly after, which again may be a little bit off topic, but Twitch getting rid of, I think it was the Safety Council? Safety Guide? They got rid of something.
That whole thing was a stunt.
Yeah.
That was nothing more than a stunt. They never did anything the entire time that thing existed.
I don't remember a single ruling they ever made or any like motions that were ever done or because they came into existence when I started streaming, and then I don't remember them ever doing anything.
So here's a funny insight. Twitch's infrastructure has gone through 3 different iterations in the last 2 years. The first like iteration of the internal workings was when they were doing the safety council, and this was the kind of people who, you know, they're the granddads, they're the parliamentarians who have no real ear to the community. They have no understanding about who the people they're serving is. They do what they think would look best to the stockholders and the to make them look like they're paying attention. It's like, hello, my fellow kids, I am groovy with the content creations, my fellow gamers. You know how you, in the last like couple of years, you've seen like the Twitch Twitter page, just every week, reciting different rules, changing things for the different, just because they can, like trying to figure out where like sexually suggestive content lies, trying to figure out whether they want this platform to be accepting of sexuality and present how people present themselves. And it goes back and forth because there's not been any consistency in the internal workings. And now, literally as of the last 6 months, there's been another shift where we're seeing these people who were there for that changing of the guard being swapped out with new people. So I wouldn't expect, I think you're going to probably see Twitch changing a lot in the next year or two. In reality, they what they need is like a year where they make very minimal changes. They just let people sit and stew with the rules that we have and, you know, try and make sure they're paying attention to how the feel of the audience is. Because I think the problem is people, like, a lot of these changes they make, people wouldn't be quite as angry with them if they were brought across in a much more relatable way, or if they weren't done so close together. Like, they make one change and like a week later, hey, by the way, we're completely reverting it, and we're also adding this other thing, and there's other things happening as well. Like, people, no one's able to feel situated. Everyone feels like they always have to walk on eggshells because they never know whether something they're going to do is then going to be against TOS one week or perfectly fine the next.
To play Tiefling's advocate here, with some of the more adult changes that happened over the past 6 months, people did obviously take it a bit too far in the freedoms that they were suddenly given.
Oh boy, that is a funny discussion about psychology and the aptitude for if you give them an inch, they will take a mile. But that isn't necessarily Twitch's. It's Twitch's fault for not being open-minded and like aware of what people do. But it is also the fact, like, if they knew their audience, they would have known that's what they would have done. They are so unconnected with their audience that the fact they didn't see that coming would have been a telling sign for anybody as to how little they know of their audience. Like, it's nice that they wanted to be like, that they wanted to give them the people the benefit of the doubt, but the fact that they didn't think that, like, you know, they probably expected a few people to
like
be
one or two.
A little bit shenanigansy. But the fact that they didn't then, like, the fact they were surprised by the fact that the art category turned into a twerkathon and the IRL category got turned into like literal pornography. They should have known that was gonna happen. It's a twofold thing. They needed to pick a lane and decide whether the platform was going to allow it or not allow it, but they kept trying to find a middle ground to please everyone and in turn pleased no one. And then secondly, if they wanted to do anything of this nature, and if they wanted to have a more I want to say respectful platform, if they wanted to have a more moderated platform, which is what they desperately needed and still need, if they aren't willing to look after it themselves, and if they want to take their hands off the rail, then they needed to make sure that there were systems in place that let the content creator take the responsibility into their own hands, which there just wasn't any infrastructure for, which then ended up with, well, the sexuality,
the apocalypse that occurred across every category. But I am hopeful that over the next year or two, we'll see Twitch buckle down and actually like move things for the better. Primarily,
people have been saying that for the last 6 years, right?
This is the first time. This is the first time I'm saying it. So hopefully,
I will say this is. I will say that this is also one of my first times of sort of seeing a very different approach to things by Twitch. which makes me think that they might finally be trying to go down a different avenue for once, rather than just treading the same ground they have been. Like, we're pandering to an audience here. I mean, if I really wanted to pander, I'd just do this. I have become... I like to think that even, like, at surface level, I can understand why people might be put off by me. I'm quite overbearing. I've got my tisms that cause me to be a bit socially awkward sometimes. But I think I'm getting better with it. I would like to. I don't like making excuses for myself. But what the version of me you see now is a version that is suffering from depression, stress, real world shit happening. Because if the people who knew me from like 4 or 5 years ago would have seen a very different kind of Kari, one that would actually like make witty quips and not be so hyperfixated on certain subjects, so that they don't have to allow their brain to only focus on one subject at a time and lose out on potentially being funny hee-hoos. I think it's like a year ago I really kind of was struggling with my vision of self-worth, and I realized it wasn't their problem. It was my problem with my perception of myself and my feelings of self-worth that made me feel like nobody wanted to be around me, and then just assuming that I'm a problem.
Yeah. I also think it partly comes down to this weird state, and I'm sure you've interacted with this idea before, you know, given that you've been here so long. It's really hard to meet other content creators and not have it be awkward. Like,
it is. It's almost like content creators are real people in the real world, and not everybody is going to get along with each other. But when you're neurodiverse and you have either some kind of ADHD, some kind of TISM, some kind of I don't know, Asperger's, some kind that makes your sociality, and your perception of sociality kind of skewed. It's like you're constantly walking on eggshells. Very self-aware. It's kind of that thing of you want to be friends with everyone, and then when you get dejected because you just don't meld with someone, you take it personally, and then you have a slight midlife crisis. But that's not the way it has to be, because not everyone's going to always be your friend. Ah, there you go, because you don't meld with everyone. There you go, I finished my sentence.
There you go. Okay, congratulations. I'm proud of you. I've been doing my absolute damnedest to get out there, talk to people, go reconnect, rebuild after my hiatus, all that good stuff. And I get to it, I'm going to send them a DM, and I fucking freeze. And I have no idea what to say. And I just say, hey, I'm trying to reach out. I want to talk to people. Sorry if this is awkward. Have a picture of snails. And I sent them a bunch of medieval art of people fighting snails. And I'm like, I have botched this whole conversation. They don't want to talk to me now.
Oh boy, we're going into the realm of psychology, and that is another one of my hyperfixations, because we are a smorgasbord of self-doubt and self-inhibitions. And I can entirely relate to how what you're saying there, because that's exactly kind of what I went through. It's like that funny little allegory or example of somebody sends you a text, and they say, okay. That okay could mean anything. They hate me. They hate me.
They absolutely despise me. They don't want to talk to me again. I fucked up.
Okay, that you read into it, you're like, that okay means they fucking despise me because you think the worst. You think that in reality, when you get if somebody says okay to you in real life, you look at their face, it's like, they're pretty placid. They're just saying okay as in okay.
Okay,
but
I
you
understand.
Read that text,
message received.
It's like your mum sending you a text saying we need to talk. I mean, you know that you're dead at that point.
Yeah, you fucked up. Your whole week is ruined after that. People shit on me for like when I first moved to Germany, right? And I had to cut back on a lot of expenses and I got rid of Discord Nitro. And people told me, hey, you seem a bit off. You're like explaining your sentences a bit more. Why is that? I'm like, because I don't have my Discord Nitro and I can't use my emotes anymore to tell you how I'm feeling.
Yeah.
So
You'll notice, like, this is such a I can always tell who of my friends are on the spectrum, because they will use an abundance of emotes. Like, I cannot end a sentence without using like a smiley face or some kind of heart just to show that I meant good with that sentence. Like, I have to have some kind of expressivity in my typing.
And I need it. I need to connect with other people who do the same.
It's when that's your precedent of how you converse with people through text, it's a sign of two things. You are so concerned with what they perceive of you, and you want no possibility that your message could be interpreted as something negative. So you overemphasize it, and then you will hyperfixate on it. You will care so much about it. When in reality, conversation is something that I realize I'm such a hypocrite for saying this. You don't have to put the weight of the world behind every line of dialogue. And sometimes it's just about letting go, relaxing, taking a breath, and just if somebody says something, it's usually what they say is what they mean. Not like it's the same we were saying earlier with Twitch. Not everything is that deep, you know?
Yeah.
They might say okay. That just means okay. And at that point, it's about learning to just admit that, acknowledge they just said okay.
I think Zach has the right idea. Hieroglyphs are just a superior form of communication.
Hieroglyphs? I'm going for smoke signals, baby. Shocker, isn't it? Behind this gooey exterior, I keep as much as I might stutter and as much as I have my social awkwardnesses.
Same.
I have my specialities. There are things that I'm passionate about are I'm not good at many things, but the things I am very good at, I am very good at. And reading people, understanding people, and this actually works in tandem with my understanding of how Twitch works. Trends, analysis, psychoanalysis, in some extent philosophy, just the process of analysis and being critical whilst also being rational in of itself is something that not enough people have. I think this is like a great time to use the drama of the day as an example. I don't know if you have this to show chat because it's kind of a hee-hoo funny. If you guys have been on Twitter, you probably saw this today. There was a big drama on Twitter of a couple of VTubers who were doing the typical VTuber engagement thing of doing a VTuber review. They would get people in, submit their reviews. It's a great idea. You know, it gets people involved. It's a great engagement thing. You get to get a bunch of different streamers to engage with your work. You meet some other content creators. You get to see some cool designs. In its concept, it's a great idea.
In a concept.
However, ignorance is bliss. And one of the biggest issues content creators have is assuming they don't need to learn about the process of doing things. Just assuming that they can do something and expect it to be fine. No matter what you do, as a content creator, it is your responsibility to be professional. And if it is something that requires a skill set, like critique is a skill set. You need to be good at it. And if you are not, if you just assume you can do it, what happened to these two girls? They were doing a VTube review, and rather than being actually critiqueful and actually constructive, they had this lovely person who submit their design. Whatever you think about the design, you might think it's over a bit busy. You might think that it's not something you're tasteful. But there's a right and a wrong way to critique something. The wrong way is by putting your own
tastes and your own preferences over.
You make it personal.
Yeah.
At that point, it's no longer critique. It is a personal, I don't say jab, but it's no longer actually being constructive. The point of critique is it's constructive. And they made it personal. They started, it sounded like listening to two popular girls at high school shit-talking another girl that's not even
going down the hallway. It's actually awful. I'm not going to play the audio because that's a little bit more disrespectful.
It's disgusting. I could not listen to the entire thing more than once. If they didn't like it, they can say that. But then they need to validate why and do it in a constructive fashion.
I believe the one on the left has decided to quit VTubing after this recent incident. They were supposedly planning on doing so anyways, but the recent events have encouraged them to do so faster.
So that's, you know how I said earlier that you can tell when somebody doesn't mean that their apology? That's the exact thing. From like an outside perspective, like quitting VTubing, quitting streaming, is a way of them not acknowledging their fault. And from stuff that I saw, they made an apology they deleted, and I saw this. I don't know if you saw it yourself.
I didn't get to see it, no.
The VTuber on screen, she made an apology, and oh boy, it was the apology of all times, and
the most apology.
So they tried doing a formulaic apology where they didn't really acknowledge they made a fault. They were like, oh, somebody said that I'd said something wrong. And if that's the case, they didn't actually use any vocabulary that asserted that they acknowledged that there was a mistake. So they posted this apology and they got absolutely railed. Absolutely, completely railed for it. And rather than, learning and growing like we spoke before, they just deleted the post and they've now completely disassociated. They've decided rather than, learning and growing and doing the hard thing of acknowledging and processing and growing as a person, they're disassociating and continuing to be a shit person. And I find it hysterical as like an outside person looking at this kind of stuff, seeing the decisions made by people and realizing that these guys were never going to be professional to begin with.
No.
They were treating this like it was their quick shot at quick views. Their intent for this was not to be critical, and you can tell from the way they were reviewing this. If they were going to be professional with this, they would have understood how to do critique. The fact that they were just treating it like a gossip shows they didn't do the preparation, that all they cared about was getting a bunch of attention from people submitting their ideas. People put passion and desire and energy and creativity behind their designs, and it's something they are so passionate about. And when you submit these to other content creators for review, there is a level of trust. And as the person hosting this stuff, it's your responsibility to be professional enough to remove your personal biases. Because the second you put your personal thing in there and you did what these girls do, you show that you don't respect the people who were submitting it to begin with. You show that you don't have the intent of being organic with what you're doing. You aren't doing it for any reason other than your own personal gain, and you don't have any maturity. And go on.
It's as PG says, it's childish, but also you can tell it's even more insincere because it's piggybacking off of the previous drama of Small Lola's design shit with Shy Lily. It's just riding off of the current topic and trends of that drama that was going on. It's drama riding off of previous drama, in my opinion.
This is something that goes back. I love how all of this like tangentially goes into each other, because that's exactly what I said earlier. You know how I said about how small the VTubing space is?
Yeah.
People are that desperate that they will do anything to get attention. They will do whatever the trend is. They will do whatever is the path of least resistance. That gives them the most amount of attention. And rather than putting work in to make something of their own, rather than trying to innovate and be creative, they do the trend. And like, I will always be a little bit skeptical whenever I see somebody doing whatever the trend is, because I'll be like, how much of this is actually your intention to make this, and how much of it is just you trying to get some quick clicks? It's like when you see on Twitter somebody posting a PNG of their model with a fucking sign saying, leave links to your Twitches below so I can raid you. There's no intent of being actually like organic with that. You're not trying to make friends. You're just trying to farm views. It's like making an @ on your Discord server saying that you should go click a link or something. It is certainly an apology.
To the person, I apologize for my words. Your design is truly unique and beautiful, and I unfairly allowed my bias to get in the way of properly critiquing your design. I am truly sorry. It has come to my attention that I was cold and unfair to one of the people who entered my model judgment.
I'm going to let you read this, and I'm going to make an observation.
And caused them to be humiliated. For that, I apologize. I admit that I was unfair and cruel, and I genuinely regret my words. Furthermore, to anyone who is harmed by my words during that stream, I am truly sorry. Going forward, I intend to be kinder towards other VTubers and to not be cruel towards their designs. I hope that even if you cannot believe my words, my future actions speak for themselves. The teacher did not tell me to write this.
So, one thing right off the bat, you know it's bullshit because that's the complete opposite of what they said. So this means one of two things, and none of it's good. Either it means the person they showed themselves to be online is a lie, solely for the purpose of drawing in views. And if that's the case, fuck you. Secondly, the other thing it means is that they are lying in this message. Because if in both of these examples, it is a lie. They are either lying about the person they are live. If what they said whilst they were live was true, then that makes this a lie. But if what they are online is a lie, and this is true, then that's equally as bad because they're lying to their audience. Some people are going to sit there going, we shouldn't, this isn't help. Like, jumping on these people and like chastising them for this isn't helpful. But when somebody makes a mistake, you don't sit there and coddle them for it. And again, this is a broad spectrum thing, and there's a very gray line as to where you lie in it, depending on the severity of things. But people on the internet are not as stupid as they like to make you think. People know when they've done something wrong, just like when studios know when they've done something wrong. People people are not that stupid. They are aware as to what they're doing, and they will often base what they do off of what's going to benefit them the most. And in this person's example, their decision to then apologize was their way of trying to do damage control. Now, I've seen worse examples.
Yeah.
But this is not how you deal with anything. Trying to be prudish and doubling down and trying to emphasize that you did nothing wrong is never a good idea.
No.
As a good to take something good out of that though, the VTuber in question who was belittled, they gained 1,000 Twitter followers. They have had so many people drawing their character. So, you know, for all the shit that we talk about with the VTube space, as much as we focus on the negative, there are amazing things that happen in the VTube space, and that was one of the things that drew me to it. So, being able to loop back to the journey I've gone through with streaming, that's what's kept me around. I love how camaraderie, for as small as the VTube space is, for the most part, people are very, very caring about their friends. Yes, there are clicks. Yes, there are negatives, but never undermine just how lovely and nice people in the VTube space are.
They are.
Do.
Always.
And there will always be people who do like what you do.
Yeah.
But it's about making that compromise as to doing what is going to get your version of success. If your version of success is that you want to get viewership, then you are going to have to compromise and do the things that are going to get you more viewership, because there are just things that do that. Don't try and fight what is inevitable. If your body is telling you that it's not worth it anymore, you're only doing yourself more damage by trying to force yourself. If your body has given up, if your brain is no longer enjoying the process, forcing yourself will make you resent what you do. And I have gone through a couple times in my content creation sphere where I've had that exact problem. I want to try and make sure in any way possible that, because when I was doing my thing, when I started, I wish I had somebody like myself who could have just sat there and told me the do's and don'ts. And there are so many content creators I see who never get that like backing or that like little friend on their shoulder that can tell them or help how do I say manage them, but like share the experience, teach them the ways, as it were.
Yeah.
And that's what I would have loved, and I want to try and be that for as many people as possible, because I realize there are so many content creators who could be doing better or who are gonna hit a
roadblock,
if you will.
Yeah.
And that they otherwise could have avoided if they would have just had a slight helping hand to begin with. Yes, stop downplaying yourself. You are valid and you're amazing and your work is awesome and you are skilled and stuff. You make a mistake, you fucking get back on that bicycle and you keep cycling. Life's like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're gonna get. You got too many hands in the kettle. You got the kitchen full of chefs and other movie quotes. But we don't talk about Fight Club and the other things.